Welcome to Highly Sensitive, Happily Married, the podcast that teaches you to not only have an easier marriage as a sensitive woman, but to have one that feels more amazing by the day. Where you'll hear relatable stories, love advice that works, and coaching on how to have a marriage where feeling upset and disconnected is a thing of the past, and where instead a sense of loving connection and even fun and lightness is the norm. I'm Hannah Brooks, highly sensitive person, love expert, and marriage coach, and I'm so happy to be on this journey with you. Welcome to episode 220. That is a lot of episodes. And if this podcast has been helping you over the weeks or months or even years that you've been listening to it, and you haven't yet left a 5-star review, please go ahead and do so now. Your review, as well as your word of mouth, sharing the podcast with other people, other friends and family, really can make a big difference in helping other deep feeling, highly sensitive women and marriages all around the world be so much happier, be so much more healthy and loving and connected. So you can rate and review the podcast. It specifically helps to do so on Apple Podcasts. And it will just take a moment or 3 of your time. And I will be incredibly grateful. So let's dive into today's topic. So last episode, I talked about the invisible but very impactful atmosphere in a marriage. And today, I want to show you one of the biggest things that shapes that atmosphere. So you're going to learn a big piece of how you actually influence that atmosphere into the one that you want it to be between you and your honey. Really, I'm going to share a piece of the actual how of creating a marriage that really does feel so good to you. And instead of giving you a grand lead up to what the answer is, I'm just going to tell you right away. But then I want you to stick around and listen to what I mean and why it's such a big key, and all the rest I'm going to share about it, because there really are nuances and things to understand to actually get what I'm talking about here and be able to actually use what I'm teaching to really shift your marriage in the ways that you most want. So the simple answer to how do you shift the atmosphere of your marriage, how do you make things between you and your spouse feel loving and all the good things, become a safe heart partner. Become the safest person for your spouse. Because one of the greatest gifts we can give another human being and our marriage and our family isn't perfect communication or never having disagreements or anything like that. It's our safe, open presence. It's becoming someone whose nervous system and words and interpretations and responses and energy communicates who you are is safe with me. Who you are is loved by me. Not some better version of who you are, but who you are now is safe and loved by me. So over the course of my own marriages and over the course of this career of helping women have the loving marriages they want, one of the biggest things I've become passionate about is helping us as women be that kind and safe person to be with as a partner. And of course, helping that be reciprocated by our partners as well. Because I've seen the damage it does not to be that safe heart partner in my own and hundreds of other marriages. And I've seen the incredible transformations that happen in a marriage when we step into being that safe heart partner, even if our partner isn't doing that same thing at first by our side. Learning to be that safe person for your spouse is one of the most important and powerful things that you can do to seriously improve your marriage. So I am deeply passionate about helping people do this. And I want to be honest and let you know that part of why I know this and part of why I'm so passionate about it is that it is one of the things that I've personally struggled with. I think not being a safe and kind and respectful partner has been kind of handed down to me through the generations. It's really been a challenge in my family lineage. But I also think it's been handed down to so many of us. Like, I'm certainly not alone, nor is my family. Even though I know personally that I am such a loving and good and caring person, my protective patterns have at times really got in the way of being a safe partner. And some of those patterns of mine personally include irritableness, having had a sort of wound of the heart of not feeling cared about enough, and defaulting to being kind of controlling in an attempt to protect my own feelings. So those are some of the biggest challenges that I personally have struggled with when it comes to showing up as a safe, kind-hearted, respectful, truly loving partner that I really want to be. And I can say this out loud to the public without shame because of all the safety I've built within myself at this point in my life. But all of this did do damage in my marriage and was a big part of why my first marriage ended. And I know that I am very far from alone in this. I do believe that one of the biggest challenges we have in our intimate relationships as a society is letting so many things block our ability to just be truly kind to each other, to respect and accept each other as human beings, and to live our respect and care out in how we interact with each other day to day. So instead of conveying to our spouse in so many ways, you're safe with me, who you are is loved by me, we unintentionally communicate the opposite. Not out of malice or anything, but because we've spent years and we've learned to relate from fear and protection and old hurts and misunderstanding. And it's just easiest to keep doing so. At least it feels like it in the moment. And so without realizing it, our words, our reactions, our interpretations, and our habits can really unconsciously communicate to our significant other, you are not safe with me. And our partner, of course, also can communicate this to us as well because of their own fear and protective patterns and societal conditioning. Yeah. So this, of course, is very, very human, but it also makes for a vicious downward cycle in our intimate relationship. It really breeds a lot of issues, communication challenges, conflicts, and places where you and your partner feel really stuck out of your hearts and out of connection in your relationship. And it's really a huge reason why so many marriages feel so hard and end up falling apart. So I want to share now why becoming a safe heart partner is such a game changer. And it starts with the fact that emotions are contagious, especially the more challenging ones. I mean, have you ever noticed how our human systems, maybe your human system, naturally reverts to self-protection and fear, especially in our closest relationships? And how contagious that is between partners. So this means that unfortunately our protective behaviors start kind of bouncing back and forth between us and our spouse. So what that can look like in real life is perhaps your spouse snaps at you and then you snap back. Or you are upset about something and you give the cold shoulder and then he follows suit. Or you criticize and he defends. And that just escalates. Or he says something hurtful to you and so you instinctively hurt him back. The way it tends to go is a little feeling in one of you comes up and then suddenly you're both protecting yourselves instead of protecting your connection. It really is fascinating how human emotional states spread our attitude, our energy. We really do take other people with us with our energy. Now, this isn't inevitable, but it's most of the time what happens when we're kind of unconsciously moving through life. And unfortunately, in intimate relationships, it's most often the hard stuff, the negative stuff, the fear, the irritation, the self-protection, the hurt, the attacking, the anger, all of that seems to spread the easiest, at least as the years pass in the relationship. So I've had some fun in the past calling this unintentional wizardry. Wizardry because it feels a bit like magic, how our emotions get mirrored by the other people in our sphere. Because that really is powerful magic. And I've explored a little bit, because why not be a little bit unserious about these serious things sometimes, right? Why not make a little bit light of some of these harder things in our human experience? But I've played with if I get snappy, watch how quickly my husband will get snappy back, right? It is a little magic. It's powerful magic. And I call it unintentional wizardry because spreading the reactivity, the anger, the tension is not usually on purpose unless we do these little experiments, right? We don't go into a marriage intending to spread hurt and irritation and disconnection to each other. Not at all. But it happens a lot because it's more a function of our natural tendency to fall prey to the negativity bias, the default protection mode that we are wired with as humans to survive. That is the stronger natural pull for humans because survival trumps happiness at a biological level. Meaning, to our biology, survival matters more than feeling good in a marriage. But of course, to our hearts and souls, our marriage happiness matters deeply. So thankfully, the very good news is safety spreads too. Connection and love and warmth of heart and kindness and respect, those are all also highly contagious. Most couples don't realize that safety is just as contagious as fear because they get so stuck in the reactivity that fear and protection produce. But it is. And we can use this fact that safety is contagious to our marriage's advantage. We can use that to do some intentional wizardry. And I'm going to tell you about how in just a bit. But first, I want you to pause for a moment and consider your relationship. Since emotion and energy is contagious, since you deeply influence the energy between you and your spouse, the atmosphere between you with your energy, the question is, what are you currently spreading? Is it more fear, anger, self-protection, irritability? Or is it safety, openness, and protection of connection? Give it a moment and just consider this. Whatever you find now, I want you to know that the other beautiful news is that instead of unintentionally spreading the first, fear and such, you can intentionally spread the second, safety. You can make it so that safety and warmth and affection are what starts bouncing back and forth between you and your spouse more often than not. You can become a safe heart partner who spreads safety and love intentionally. And again, that is one of the biggest pieces of shifting the atmosphere of your marriage into the loving, deeply connected, secure one you want. Becoming safe, a deeply safe person for your partner, a protector of your connection versus a protector of yourself and your fears. Ironically, the way we do this is by first becoming our own source of deep safety and security. And I'm going to circle back to that in a few minutes. But I wanted to be clear that overriding our own needs and forcing or using willpower to push yourself to be kind, that is not what I'm talking about here. So don't misunderstand me. I'm also not saying you should give your spouse this gift just to be generous. In fact, giving this gift is, we could say, a selfish act because it's one of the biggest things that gives you what you want in your marriage. Becoming a safe heart partner, becoming a super safe space. Also, before we go any further, let me be clear. I know you are a good person and you never mean to be an unsafe space for your spouse. And many of us, because of our own survival patterns, do subtly become unsafe emotionally at times. I know we're used to thinking of, our men are unsafe. I know that that's the cultural lens we tend to focus on, but it is also true that we can become unsafe emotionally towards our partners, for our partners. And in fact, especially as an HSP, I know that you probably care very deeply about being a good, kind, loving spouse. And I bet a part of you really does feel guilty whenever you're not. And this is one of the beautiful pieces of our trait, that we care deeply, that we have big hearts, and that we want to love well. But wanting to do so does not mean we automatically succeed at it, especially when we've not done our own inner work, when we haven't built the inner emotional safety and security that's needed. It can be all too easy to slip back into our protective patterns, to be ruled by our old fears and our hurts, and then to subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, become someone that our spouse feels, however unconsciously, unsafe with. And if you aren't sure if your spouse feels safe or not with you, look at his reaction to you. Is he ever defensive or reactive? Not to say that his patterns are your fault. That is never true. But defensive, protective patterns flaring up in reaction to you or your actions are signs that he's feeling threatened one way or another. And although your job is never to work on his triggers and protective patterns, you can build the safety that you show up with, that you bring every moment to the space between you. And that makes a world of difference for him and your relationship and how you both feel together. So, how do we do that? How do we build the safety you show up with? How do you become a safe heart partner? We're going to start right now with what we don't do, because that's just as important. We don't force anything like patience or kindness. We don't use willpower to be a safe partner. We don't just act kind and sweet and on the inside be seething. Yeah. We don't pretend everything is okay when it isn't. We don't stuff our feelings or take responsibility for our husband's or partner's emotions. But we also don't continue to let our own insecurities and protective fear-based patterning play out, since those are the source of conveying to your partner system, you aren't safe with me. Which means what we do is we become steadier inside of ourselves. That's the first thing we do. We build our own safety in ourselves. Safety with our own emotions, safety within our nervous system, safety at the level of our mind. We inspect and dismantle the protective patterns in our system created by old fears and hurts. And we learn to stay connected to ourselves, to stay with ourselves through the hard moments and emotions. In other words, we build deep emotional security and safety from within in our relationship with ourself. And as you do that work within yourself, it naturally begins flowing from you. And so you just naturally start bringing more safety into your relationship. And then you build on that and consciously bring that safety in. So it's not just naturally flowing, you're also bringing more intentionality to what you bring to the relationship. And there is a marked difference in your presence that begins to happen in the way that you are with your spouse. So maybe, for example, he comes home in a bad mood and he says something a little sharply. And instead of immediately deciding, oh no, here we go again, and withdrawing, or matching his irritable tone, something in you stays open. You can actually notice and really see, oh, he's just stressed, without making his stress mean something about you or your relationship. And this doesn't mean you sit there and take it, but you know how to take care of yourself and stay open and not harden and not shut down or lash out. You can respond without abandoning yourself, without spiraling or attacking him. And just in general, you find that because of the safety you've built within yourself, you just listen more openly in general. You interpret his words and actions much more accurately. You respond more steadily, more wisely. You move through harder moments more quickly, resiliently, and you repair more easily. And then the fun gets funner. You flirt and share with more lightness, more playfully. You really embody safety in all of it, in all the interactions you have with your partner. And the energy of that is highly contagious. It reaches into your partner. And whether they tell you that they notice it or not, most likely you'll notice that your partner starts listening more openly himself, responding more calmly, interacting more warmly with you, more affectionately, repairing more quickly, or just repairing at all, smiling more widely when with you. And of course, that continues the beautiful upward spiral that you began. As you experience that safety coming from him, your own heart settles even more. And as your own heart settles, you naturally bring even more safety into the relationship, into every moment, and more lightness and joy and love. And so he feels increasingly safe with you, increasingly loving with you, because love, if you remember me saying this is one of my favorite things to say, love only lives in safety. So he feels increasingly loving with you because safety is becoming part of just who you are. And so the atmosphere between you keeps improving, one interaction at a time. And many of the women that I work with describe this atmosphere as much more open, lighter, more trusting, more loving, and like a real home. And this all happens because you've become a safer place for love to grow. Now, of course, there can certainly be some other things to figure out. Some ways your spouse also needs to grow to have the best version of your marriage. But the amazing thing is that it's from this foundation of safety inside of you and the strengthening foundation of safety between you that those next pieces can happen, that you can ask for more specific skills from his end, for specific growth, for specific things that you want him to contribute. And he will be much more willing to do that work. And you'll be able to work together as a team on specific issues from that foundation of safety in you and between you. And of course, those issues that you have between you, of course they can take more work. My husband and I still have places we're working both together and on our own in regards to our relationship. And not everything is just magically solved. So I'm not talking some unrealistic magical fantasy here. I'm talking about the way real growth and transformation actually happens in a real life marriage. And truly, every issue gets easier to solve or move past, and many just fall away when the foundation in you and between you is full of safety. So, remember how I said a few minutes ago that we aren't necessarily doing this for our partner out of the goodness of our hearts, just to be generous? No, we're actually doing this for ourselves in so many ways. Because one of the greatest gifts of cultivating this emotional security within yourself and becoming this safe heart partner is that it doesn't just change how you experience your marriage. It doesn't just make the hard moments easier, the times your partner is grumpy, aloof, or stressed, or going through a difficult thing. It doesn't just make you feel so much more secure and at ease and confident and light in yourself. I mean, it does all of those things, but it also changes how your marriage experiences you. And it gives back to you tenfold. It makes it far easier for your husband to become a safe heart partner too. So you can finally rest in the kind of loving partnership that you've been wanting for so long. So that's exactly why I created Sanctuary 1-to-1, to help you become the kind of woman who naturally creates the emotional safety where love and trust and friendship and repair and genuine partnership flourish. And all challenges between you are actually workable, and they do truly improve. Because one safe heart really can begin changing the atmosphere of an entire marriage and the trajectory of your whole future together. And truly, over time and throughout your time together, this truly changes what the marriage itself is into one that you both feel is like a sanctuary from the wildness of the world around you, like a home for both of your hearts. Now, becoming this kind of safe heart partner is just one of the transformations that we make together when you work with me in Sanctuary. It's a very important one, but of course it's not all we do. Through the 5 pillars of Sanctuary, you'll also learn how to create deeper connection, communicate collaboratively and in ways that help you effectively advocate for what you want, and become each other's safe space, and bring attraction alive again, and cultivate a relationship that really feels like coming home to a best friend, where love and mutual supportiveness and even playfulness and lightness of heart are just part of daily life together. And of course, your spouse also gets my help through the Supportive Partner Microcourse, which comes as part of Sanctuary. Because when you bring the deep safety, he's much more likely to move on doing his own work too, and become that safe heart partner for you as well. And I've got his back to help him do that. That's an optional piece for him if and when he's willing and able. But the heart of Sanctuary is to support you in making your marriage a truly safe heart partnership. So learn more about Sanctuary and begin the full Safe Heart pathway, which includes foundations of emotional well-being as the first part of the pathway. Learn more about it over at my website, www.hspmarriagecoaching.com. You'll find the tab for Sanctuary right at the top, or you can just go directly to the link in the show notes or the description for this episode and click on that link. I would be truly honored to support you in your marriage this way. All right, my dears, here's to deep safety within you and between you and your honey, and a love that truly flourishes. Be oh so well.